Welcome to this training topic that is much needed in the fire department, and that's high-rise operation and equipment. So, going to do something a little bit different, very informal training video here, so we make sure that we are all on the same page. So welcome to the Training Bureau. Chief Salzano here. Very quiet in here today. Everybody's out doing something. And I thought I'd take this opportunity to make sure we are all on the same page. So first and foremost, SOP 511, high-rise. These are our runs or our incidents that are very few and far between. Obviously, high risk, right? Low frequency. So we've talked about those types of runs in the past. For us, everybody knows our demographics in the city as far as buildings, location, and what could happen, right? So remember, we train for what could happen. We train for tomorrow, tonight, and not obviously yesterday. So high-rise fires, we've seen a lot of issues there throughout the country, line of duty deaths, injuries. Again, we're not getting them every day. So for us, our bread and butter, as we all know, is the residential fire. We're very good at stretching to the front door, advancing and going in and getting that fire put out very quickly. High-rise fire is a different animal. And like I said, our city has plenty of high target hazards. When you look at the Galt, you look at downtown and how we're sprouting up from mid-rises to high-rises, and you look at the possibility of a wind-driven fire. So those hazards are there. They're going to remain there. 13, 49, 54, those buildings are not getting any younger. So the bottom line is we have to train, and we have to have a standard. And I want you guys to understand that. We've been working hard at getting a standard through SOP 511, through logistics, through our equipment on the rigs. But we need you guys to take that responsibility serious and make sure our equipment looks and is the same across every rig. And that's what I'm going to go through today. So before we get to the equipment and kind of refreshing that, 2.5 hose is the only hose brought into a high-rise fire. The first two companies, like SOP 511 states, bring all of their 2.5 up. That's 8 sections, that's 400 feet. The rescue company, First In Rescue, brings a water can. So make sure that we're all going over 511 and understand that. Moving forward, high-rise packs means 2.5. High-rise pack does not mean 1 3/4 anymore. So understand that we need to call the 1 3/4 something else. So for those that have been around, old schoolers, veterans, 1 3/4 bundles works, courtyard bundles, whatever we need to call it, but they are not for high-rise fires. So let's get that out of our systems right now. It is SOP that you bring 2.5 up to a high-rise fire. A report of smoke, anything to do with a high-rise, SOP 511, 2.5 goes up. So if you're taking a risk and not doing that, you're risking a lot of things that are above and beyond your control. And one of them, to me, is the responsibility to make sure everybody goes home at the end of the shift. So I hope I can clear that up as best I can for SOP 511. Next, we're going to get into the bag and the hose lines. All right, everybody. So now we're going to go through the equipment in the bag and make sure we're all on the same page as the informational bulletin stated. So 22-122, if you're not up to date on it, this is what is supposed to go in each bag. Nothing more, nothing less. Not any equipment from the previous bag, not anything you think is important. It's what is on this IB, which was tested, reviewed, and discussed amongst the R&D committee, multiple members that have an expertise in this type of stuff. So make sure that we're looking at this IB and we are following what's in there. So here's our new bags, very lightweight, comparatively speaking, to the ginormous bags that we had before that were heavy. This is a little bit more compact and ready to go, easier to carry. So here's the equipment that's in the bag, as again the IB stated. So first and foremost, the gate valve. All right, so pretty simple, right? Gate valve, again, going to go on the end of our connection. So what you end up having in here is a gate valve, the pressure gauge, okay, and the elbow. All right. So not all the time we're going to need all three. So in a perfect world, we're just going to set up our valve and gauge. That's pretty much it. Valve's always going to go first to the standpipe. Gauge is going to go next, obviously. So the reason being, when we open our valve, we want to know what we're flowing, and we can adjust from there. That's why this is going to come after our gate valve. The elbow is in the bag for a couple of reasons. Again, you guys have been out there, you've walked buildings, you've trained, you hooked this stuff up. So the elbow is for us in case we need to get the valve off of the wall. Sometimes the construction is tight, so if we need to get the valve off the wall, this will help us do that. So then at that point, you'll go elbow into our inline and then into our gauge. That's how this should be set up. Some people may want to have these pre-set up. That's fine. We're okay with that. If you want to have anything pre-set up, at least just these two, not the elbow, because again, you may not need it. So those are the first three important things that are in the bag. Obviously, you should have 2 spanner wrenches. Pretty self-explanatory on spanners and why they should be in there. Door chocks. We need chocks in these bags. The more the merrier. At least 3 or 4. Again, that's self-explanatory, especially if you're working your way up from the floor below or 2 floors below, like the SOP and like we've been training. You're going to want to keep these doors open once we get hose laid out. So make sure you guys got door chocks in these bags, especially the downtown companies, the beach companies. Again, it's in the SOP, it's in the IB, so make sure we have them. Obviously a wire brush, pretty again self-explanatory. If we have any gunk or any buildup, we can clean out the standpipe with a wire brush. Spare wheel. Okay, again, you may come up to the fire floor, the wheel is off. This is going to come into play there and assist us if we need. Now, to get into kind of the rest of the equipment that's a little bit different than we're used to, first and foremost, we have our, basically, again, our crow's foot. Pretty self-explanatory how to use the crow's foot, right? Good tool to have if the valve is a little bit stuck. All right, next we have our pipe wrench, okay, and our tools to adjust the PRV. So, first and foremost, the bar. This is going to adjust our field reducing pressures. So, what do I mean by that? First and foremost, it's going to be a scenario where we have the line open, everything is charged, but we're not getting either enough pressure or we're getting too much pressure. These valves will be marked and it'll show you where to put the bar in to actually adjust or increase or decrease. Again, it'll be counterclockwise or clockwise at that point. So not all of these field valves are the same. Some are a little bit different. That's why we have multiple tools in there. So this is good. You would need to have the line open and flowing to go ahead and adjust the pressure as you want it. Remember, we're adjusting the pressure at the nozzle. So this is important to have to make sure we have the right nozzle pressure to fight the fire sufficiently. So that's going to be for one kind of a field reducing pressure valve. Another type of field adjustment valve where we have to utilize the pipe wrench, all right, and our socket in here. So basically you're going to get up and again be in the same scenario. We have too much pressure or not enough pressure, and that's all we're getting in this system. So we would have to make an adjustment on that floor. So for this type, we're going to use our pipe wrench. We're going to take the existing wheel off, all right, at the bonnet, remove it, and then once you expose that valve, you're going to take your socket and you're going to do the same thing, counterclockwise or clockwise, to increase or decrease our pressure while we are flowing, charged, operating. All right, so it's important to know how to overcome these field pressure reducing valves. Again, being a professional firefighter, being a professional engine firefighter, we need to know how to overcome these obstacles we may see in these high-rise fires. So those are our tools to adjust our field reducing pressure valves. The last piece of equipment in here is going to be our increaser. All right, so this is an increaser that goes from an 1.5-inch coupling to a 2.5. So a scenario for this piece of equipment would be as such. We did everything right. We followed all of our training, the guidelines, and unfortunately we still fell short on the stretch. So let's say we were either 200 feet in and we're ready to go, but we were 30 feet short, right? So we're 30 feet short, and the second due company then brings up their section with the 2.5 nozzle. Instead of breaking everything down, shutting the line off, we could do something very simple. We could take the tip off of our nozzle, the nozzle that's short on the stretch. We could put our increaser on the end of the nozzle, and then now we attach the nozzle section of the second due company, and we're ready to go. We just charge it. Now this acts as, our nozzle acts as a gate. We don't have to interrupt service. We don't have to shut lines down. We don't have to add from the rear. We can basically have this thing ready to go in seconds, and again advance into the fire the 30 feet that we needed and put the fire out. So this increaser is very important in its role in this bag. So hopefully that explains everything that is in the bag. Again, no more, no less. Look at the memo, the IBME, which again is 22-122. Thank you. Before we give you a quick refresher of how to pack these, again, this has to be standard. There's a reason for this. First and foremost, if we have 8 packs going up to the fire floor or the floor below, we need them all to look the same. We need them to be packed the same. When they lay out, we need them to look the same. Therefore, when they lay out, this is how they should lay out. When we see we have 2 straps, 1, 2, on the coupling side, that is standard. And that reasoning is so we can lay every pack out 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. All right, so it's very simple, very self-explanatory. Coupling side has the 2 straps. Even if for some reason the lighting wasn't good or we had light smoke down at where we're setting up, which I hope we don't, again, we could still feel and see the 2 straps and know we are on the coupling side. But again, once we start laying all this out, the way this is going to be set up when we start connecting coupling to coupling, all right, is exactly how you see it laid out here. No other way. There's no Metro load here. These are Denver loads that we've had on the rigs, and they should all look like this. All of them are marked at center points, all right, and we've gone through how to pack these before. The nozzle should be on the nozzle section. It should not be in the bag or anywhere else. All right, this is how these lines need to be set up, and set up every single time.
All right, we're going to do a quick refresher on how to fold and pack the Denver load, modified Denver load hose packs. Again, a couple marks on the hose. From the end of the swivel here on the female coupling to right here, 32 inches. This is our first fold mark. Our first fold mark on engine 8 is painted blue because that's our apparatus color. Your apparatus should be, apparatus color should be painted on that fold mark. All right, so we do our first fold here. Stop just shy of the shank of the coupling. And then we stagger the folds. The long one goes to the end of the swivel. Another painted mark on the hose is right here. This is our midpoint of the 50-foot section. Connect them with just a few swivels. Remember, the key is to just keep the couplings, the male threads protected. It's not to tighten it down. So whatever you tighten down here needs to be untightened in the hallway upstairs. All right, so our pack is complete, folded. Now these are the new straps, courtesy of the R&D committee. Thank you to Captain Matt Green and Chief Steve Shaw and Chief Chantel Body for making this happen. Straps to just standardize the department. Just like the fold itself is to standardize the way the 2.5-inch hose is folded and stored in the apparatus, these straps will also standardize the way that they're strapped together as well. So we shouldn't be seeing any more duct tape, bungee cords, seat belt buckles, or backboard straps, or the buckles that really cinch down and jam in your fingers. All right, so these are nice and quickly applied. We're going to put a total of 3 straps per 50-foot section of hose. Okay, 2 straps are going to go on the side of the hose that the couplings are connected. And then the 3rd strap goes on the opposite side. All right, so it should look like this when you're done. Couplings and 2 straps on one side of the hose, and the other side of the hose has 1 strap. We're also going to be marking the tabs on each strap as to what apparatus they're on, like so. And that's about it. So now we'll also do a refresher on the nozzle pack, since the nozzle pack is folded the exact same way, but it's finished off a little bit different, because we're not connecting the couplings, obviously. Same concept, 32-inch first fold in the female coupling. We have our midpoint. This is where the nozzle pack differs from the supply side. We're going to bring the nozzle right to where we want it. Because of the pistol grip, we have to turn the nozzle this way and pull it back to set it in there nice. And again, the same concept with the straps. 2 on the coupling side and 1 on the other. Now, when we were to set these packs up for deployment, we would say that the couplings and the straps are all on the same side. So this is how these packs would look set down, ready to hook up to each other. Okay, we have couplings and straps, couplings and straps, couplings and straps, couplings and straps.